Part 101. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei-Shi Niang. Chapter 1001. Two people from the Heidelberg Company came by bus from Shanghai. The second person picked them up at the station. One of them was a German, a young man with golden hair. His name was Frank, and he even had acne on his face. One is a Chinese man in his 30s, wearing a pair of glasses and calling himself Lao Xing. Chu Tianlin and the others haven't gotten their driver's licenses yet, and the factory is already recruiting drivers, but they haven't found one yet. The main reason is that they are looking for large truck drivers who can drive large goods. Chu Tianlin is planning to equip the factory with a van. This makes delivery more convenient, and drivers of large trucks were still difficult to find at that time. Chu Tianlin's plan is that after she and Xiaoan get their driver's licenses, the company will buy a bullet that they can drive themselves or pick up and drop off customers. She and Xiaoan will rotate, so there will be no need to hire another driver. In a newly built company, everything can be saved or saved. For example, their office building is more than 300 square meters, but until now, there are still only 2 of them, and they don't feel the need to add more people. Before their driver's licenses were tested and before he could drive, Zhang Chen let the second-hand guy drive his own car and go there to help out every day. Anyway, he could take Xiao Zhao's car when he went to and from get off work. If he had to go out for anything in between, you can also drive Xiao Zhao's car, but if that doesn't work, you can still drive the tool truck Hagen and his friends have there for buying rice and vegetables. Erhuo received 2 guests. According to Chu Tianlin's instructions, he took them to the international building to register. If they needed a rest, they were allowed to rest for a while. Anyway, Chu Tianjian and the others in the factory were busy all night last night, and they are still here. Sleeping. Unexpectedly, as soon as the 2 people put their luggage away, Frank immediately said that he was going to the factory. He stuffed the 2 packets of biscuits from the bar in the room into his bag, saying that he didn't even need to eat lunch. Erhuo quickly called Chu Tianlin, and Chu Tianlin said okay, then I'll get Chu Tianjian and the others up right away. Chu Tianjian also asked for a room in the Hangcheng spoke factory and lived with the workers in the factory, so that he did not have to run around. The second guy took them to Gongchen Bridge and passed by a steamed bun shop. The second guy stopped the car and went down to buy a few bags of steamed buns. He handed them back to Lao Xing. Lao Xing quickly said thank you, thank you. How can people eat these biscuits? Yes, this dead foreigner. The idiot laughed loudly, knowing that he was trying to trick Frank into not knowing Chinese. Lao Xing handed Frank 2 bags of steamed buns. Frank was overjoyed and ate them with relish. Lao Xing smiled and said, "Did you see that this foreigner also knows that steamed buns are more delicious than biscuits?" When Lao Xing saw that the second-rate guy gave all the buns to them and didn't keep any for himself, Lao Xing asked, "Where are you, master? You guys eat." "Oh, I already had a bowl of noodles while I was waiting for you at the station." The second-hand guy almost blurted out the word raised by force and quickly swallowed it back. Zhang Chen told the second-hand boss that when you go to Sister Tianlin's place to help, you are representing our company. Don't talk about raised by force, destroying our company's image. When they arrived at the factory, the 2 of them were surprised to see that the Speedmaster SM52 had been installed. They asked Chu Tianjian who installed it. Chu Tianjian said that he had read the instructions and led others to install it. "Do you know German?" Lao Xing asked. Chu Tianjian said embarrassedly that he learned it by looking through a dictionary. He had no problem writing and reading, but he couldn't speak or listen. Lao Xing translated this to Frank. Frank was very interested. He took out a notebook and a pen from his bag. Chu Tianjian understood and brought the notebook and pen. There was no obstacle. 2 people can communicate directly like 2 German mutes, no longer needing to go through Lao Xing. Frank wrote what he wanted to say in his notebook and showed it to Chu Tianjian. What Chu Tianjian wanted to say also wrote in his notebook and showed it to Frank. Although there were many grammatical errors in what he wrote, Frank could still read it. Understand. Frank worked very seriously. He had to check every interface carefully. He had to use a wrench to remove every screw by himself. After checking for an entire afternoon, he rechecked the machine that Chu Tianjian and the others had installed. After finishing, he signaled to Chu Tianjian that the power could be turned on. Frank and Chu Tianjian said that you are a very good engineer. Every step of the machine you installed did strictly follow the instructions and was done in place. Chu Tianjian and Frank said that your product is still better. It is very comfortable to install. When the two parts are put together, they fit perfectly. There will never be a situation where the screw mouth does not fit the bolt and has to be reattached. Scene. At that time, when buying domestic machines, this situation often occurred. If the seam cannot be closed, use a hammer to hit it. If the screw cannot be tightened, use iron wire to tie it. Anyway, it will be enough to get through. Frank didn't understand the saying the thread can't match the bolt, and it needs to be reattached. He repeatedly asked Chu Tianjian what it meant. Chu Tianjian thought for a long time, but couldn't think of an explanation. He asked Lao Xing for help, and Lao Xing said for a long time, Frank still couldn't understand. Lao Xing sighed and said to Chu Tianjian, forget it, they simply can't understand such a thing. They probably have never encountered such a situation in their lives, and I can't explain it to him clearly. Frank and Lao Xing stayed in Hangzhou for 4 days. Every time Chu Tianjian and the others installed a machine, Frank had to check it personally. Even for a simple device like a paper cutter, he would tighten it one screw at a time and check all the machine installations. After it was over, he started taking Chu Tianjian and the others to test the machine on a platform. While he was operating, he explained the step-by-step operation process. After he finished, he asked Chu Tianjian to do the same and write out the operation process step by step. He told Chu Tianjian that a machine is like a person. When the machine leaves the factory, well, it just shows that the person has a good physique, but if he wants to live a long life, he must also have a healthy lifestyle, that is, how to use the machine correctly. If the machine is used well and its life is extended, it is a huge wealth for you. As long as our machine is used properly, its service life is guaranteed for 20 years. If it is well maintained, you can use it for 2 years. 15 years, think about it, how much economic benefit can it bring to you in 5 years? If it is not operated properly and maintained properly, this machine may be scrapped in 15 years. 25 minus 15 is a full 10-year lifespan difference. How big is this difference? Chu Tianjian kept nodding. He felt that what Frank said made sense. If there is even a little bit of error in the operation process written by Chu Tianjian, Frank will ask him to rewrite and reoperate until it is completely correct. Frank and Chu Tianjian said, you need to write all this down, so that every worker who operates this machine will operate the same as you and strictly follow this operating procedure. Remember, Chu, this is very important. The machine also has feelings, and it also depends on people. For example, if you have 3 people operating this machine a day, it is best to make the machine feel like these 3 people. It's the same as one person operating. In this way, humans and machines can quickly establish relationships. Chu Tianjian told the workers what Frank said, and they all laughed. Some workers said that this foreigner talked about machines like his wife. Everyone laughed. Frank asked Lao Xing, what are they laughing at? Lao Xing translated the workers' words to Frank. Frank not only did not laugh, but also gave the worker a thumbs up and told him, you are right, you should treat the machine as your dear. Think about it, the time you spend with it in a day may be longer than the time you spend with your family. How can you do it without building a relationship? When I say that machines have feelings, I'm not lying to you, it's true. Frank asked Chu Tianjian, Chu, can you drive? Chu Tianjian shook his head and said, no. Chu, when you can drive in the future, you will have a deep understanding of this feeling. Frank said that once you drive your own car, and you get used to it, the car will become a part of your body. When you see a door, you will know whether you can drive through it without measuring it, just like you know whether your body can drive through it. It's like passing a seam. If you want to avoid something, you will naturally turn the steering wheel to avoid it, just like you are walking on the road and want to avoid something. The car is as nimble as your body, and you will not feel it at all. To the point where it's clunky. Especially, if someone else takes your own car and drives it for a while, you will feel very uncomfortable if you drive it yourself. In fact, the same goes for the car at this time. It is also very uncomfortable. You will feel that there is something wrong with the car here and there. In fact, it is the car that is protesting against you. After a few days, the intimate relationship between you and the car will disappear. Once the relationship is re-established, you and the car will be as comfortable as before. Listening to Frank's words, Chu Tianjian seemed to be very puzzled, but at the same time they seemed to make sense. He felt a little admired in his heart. He thought, it turns out that the Germans are building machines and cars with this kind of understanding. No wonder their products can be made well. Frank and Chu Tianjian said that when I first went to school, the teacher gave us such a large piece of steel on the first day and asked us to touch it every day. The teacher told us that only if you are familiar with its temper and know what it is thinking, can you know how to use it. If you don't even know what it is, what can you do with it? How can the thing you made come to life? Chu Tianjian asked Lao Xing, could Frank really tell me which university he graduated from? Lao Xing shook his head and said that he had never gone to university. Not many Germans went to university. They went to various technical schools, just like our domestic technical schools. Then he has a technical secondary school diploma, Chu Tianjian asked. Lao Xing said with a smile, they don't really have the concept of diplomas. Unless you become a politician, everyone will look at your background. German companies do not necessarily like to use college students. Most of their positions are directly filled with technical personnel. Students in the school are more practical and don't like waste. Germans are very similar to Japanese. You have a lot of contact with foreigners, so who do you think looks like us Chinese? Chu Tianjian asked. The French, their thinking patterns and ways of dealing with things are very similar to ours, Lao Xing said with a smile. If you have ever negotiated with the French, you will know that they are the same as us. Thank you, little tin soldier, for reading the book every day, and for the reward that I don't even know, anyone asked. Thank you to book friends 1609280001863, Zipanjiang 1, Cup Guy API, a green fish in the book, and Lily for being my monthly pass. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all good health. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei-Shi Niang. Chapter 1002. On Frank and Lao Xing's last day in Hangzhou, Chu Tianlin decided to try printing a picture album for the Provincial Tourism Bureau's publicity office while they were here. This was what she had agreed with Gao Ye, the designer of the picture album, whether it was many brochures of Provincial China Travel Service, Provincial China Travel Service or Provincial Youth Travel Service, including the Provincial Tourism Bureau, were designed by Gao Ye, who is very famous in this industry. In the past, their brochures were sent to Shenzhen for printing. This time, Chu Tianlin told Gao Ye that he had opened a printing factory in Hangzhou. The equipment was better than that in Shenzhen, and it was also Heidelberg's machine. When Gao Ye heard this, he took the initiative and told her, then I will print this picture album here in Hangzhou. It would be great if your printing factory could catch up with the one in Shenzhen. It will be much more convenient in the future. This year I am going to Japan to participate in an exhibition, and I need to print a lot of things. You've just started printing, Aren't you afraid that your stuff will be damaged? Chu Tianlin asked. They are all Heidelberg machines. How bad can they be? Gao Ye said. At most, the workers are inexperienced at the beginning. If something goes wrong, it will be fine if they are skilled. Gao Ye was so understanding and encouraging, so Chu Tianlin decided that the first book to be printed by the new machine would be this picture album. If the printing was damaged, there would be no shame in printing it again. While Frank and the others were still here, you can also find out the reason why the seal is broken. Today is an important day. Chu Tianlin informed Zhang Chen and Lu Ligan that they were both here. Gao Ye received the call and also came. Chu Tianlin asked the second guy to pick him up at the Provincial Tourism Bureau. Before printing, Frank asked Chu Tianjian to operate the computer alone. After he finished inputting all the data, he walked over and checked it again. After confirming that it was correct, he asked Chu Tianjian to turn on the computer. After Chu Tianjian turned the main switch handle, the workers first loaded the lining paper and rubber cloth in sequence, and then loaded the printing plates of 4 colors. Zhang Chen saw the vertical cabinets one by one. It turned out that each vertical cabinet was a printing press of the same color. While the workers were working, Frank watched from the side to see if their rubber sheets were locked, whether the bayonet was in place, and whether the printing plate was inserted in place. These workers turned out to be the technical backbone of the Shenzhen factory. They also used Heidelberg machines in Shenzhen. There was no problem doing these basic tasks, and Frank was very satisfied. After the ink was added to the ink fountain, the printing press was started. There was no roaring sound from the machine as Zhang Chen and the others imagined, only the sounds of clicking and clicking. They thought the machine was still preheating, but I saw that the feeder at the front of the machine, which is the paper feeding system, had begun to run at high speed, feeding a stack of paper more than 1 meter high into the machine one by one. The crunching sound came from here. Chu Tianjian and Zhang Chen said that a single piece of paper like this can be loaded here, or a whole tube of paper. If it is a whole tube of paper, it will automatically was cut into pieces. So awesome, Lu Ligan said. How many people are needed to operate such a huge machine? 2 people are enough, 2 people per shift, Chu Tianjian said. Actually, the main thing is what you saw earlier, the loading and unloading of blankets and printing plates is not a big workload. This machine is highly automated. Zhang Chen said, I have never seen a printing factory so clean and quiet. The workers here are just like working in an office. They looked between the standing cabinets again. The white papers were moving constantly. The papers that were sent in one by one from the front seemed to be connected together. They were moving so fast that you couldn't see the paper at all. In the gap between them, look at the paper delivery device at the rear of the machine. Paper is piling up rapidly. After less than 20 minutes, the whole machine stopped. This was because the paper in the feeder in front had been printed, and a new pile of paper needed to be pushed into the feeder. After stopping for a minute or two, the machine then it started again, and here at the back, the printed finished product, which was more than 1 meter high, was also rolled out. Seeing how efficient the machine was, Zhang Chen understood that Chu Tianjian's statement of 15,000 seals an hour was not a lie. Frank picked up the printed product, looked at it, and said "gut," which is German for good. Chu Tianlin showed the finished product to Gao Ye. Gao Ye nodded and said, very good. I will print it here in the future. Chu Tianlin and Chu Tianjian, including Zhang Chen, all breathed a sigh of relief. 2 days later, the real big test came. Hangcheng Cigarette Factory came to see their test printing. They came not with 1 or 2 people, but with a van of people. The factory director led the secretary, the deputy director in charge of purchasing, the deputy director in charge of purchasing, and the deputy director of production, as well as the technical section chief, the quality inspection section chief and the production section chief came together. Chu Tianlin knew why so many people came. The factory director took this opportunity to tell the people who came together that although there were so many people staring at the list, it made sense for him to hand it over to Chu Tianlin. The head of the quality inspection department of Hangcheng's cigarette factory also brought their original cigarette labels, which will be compared with Chu Tianlin's products later. Chu Tianjian personally got on the machine and did the work of loading rubber sheets and printing plates. Chu Tianlin prayed silently in her heart, trying her best. Heidelberg Speedmaster SM52, you must give me the best, otherwise your journey across the ocean will be in vain. The long time we spent in fear was in vain. When the machine stopped and Chu Tianlin showed them the printed cigarette label, her heart was pounding and her hands were shaking. The factory director took it, looked at Chu Tianlin, and said with a smile, "Chu Tianlin, why are you nervous? Is this still you, Chu Tianlin?" "I'm nervous," Chu Tianlin said. "I'm more nervous than when I'm on the delivery bed and have to give birth to a baby, not knowing whether it's a boy or a girl and whether the baby is healthy." Everyone laughed. They took Chu Tianlin's products and walked to the door of the factory. They looked at them with the help of natural light. The quality inspection section chief took out the original cigarette labels. Everyone compared them and whispered something. They were discussing their own affairs. Chu Tianlin and Chu Tianjian couldn't get too close, and they didn't know what they were talking about. Chu Tianlin could only hear her own heart beating wildly. She pursed her lips tightly. If she didn't as she stood, she was worried that her heart would jump out of her mouth. "Chu Tianlin, come here," the factory director greeted her. Chu Tianlin walked over anxiously. "Chu Tianlin, let me ask you, when you are about to give birth to a child, lying there, do you want to give birth to a son or a daughter?" the factory director asked. "Son, I like boys," Chu Tianlin said. "Okay, Chu Tianlin, let me tell you, you gave birth to a healthy, white, fat baby again today," the factory director smiled. Chu Tianlin was stunned for a moment, and then asked, "So, it passed?" "Passed, yours is better than our original one," said the factory director. Chu Tianlin took a long breath, bowed deeply to them quickly and said, "Thank you, thank you." The factory director smiled and said, "Okay, let's take a look at this baby. Why is the color of it so bright?" Chu Tianjian had already started the machine. The factory director led a group of people around the machine several times. When it stopped, he said to Chu Tianlin, "Chu Tianlin, we will wait for your big baby next, hoping to give us another surprise. By the way, Chu Tianlin, you said last time, how much does that machine cost?" "More than 24 million, Chu Tianlin said. The people who came with the factory director all exclaimed, and the factory director said to them, including this printing factory has invested more than 30 million yuan in equipment alone. It is really not easy. You really dare to fight?" The secretary who came with us said, "Director Chu, you are more courageous than us men." Everyone nodded. Chu Tianlin wanted to say, "What is more courageous than a man? I was forced by those men." However, Chu Tianlin did not say this, but said, "I have staked my fortune and my life just to compete for the #1 spot in the country." The factory director said, "Okay, Chu Tianlin, you have this, well, I can't even say ambition. If you have this ambition, we will help you, do you agree?" Everyone else said yes. As soon as a group of people from the Hangcheng cigarette factory left, Chu Tianlin immediately called Zhang Chen and told him that it passed, the Hangcheng cigarette factory passed. Zhang Chen smiled and said, "Sister Tianlin, we were actually on the edge and saw them there. It was not easy for us to come over because we saw them leaving." "Where are you?" Chu Tianlin asked as she walked out of the workshop, and saw a large group of people walking out of the warehouse. It turned out that they were also worried about the big exam at Hangcheng cigarette factory today, so they rushed over. When they got here, they saw Hangcheng cigarette factory. A large team of people were in the printing workshop. It was not convenient for them to come over, so they hid in the warehouse. Xiao Zhao, Tan Shuhen, and Wei Venfang screamed, "Great, great, 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 great," and they ran over and hugged Chu Tianlin and Xiaoan. Chu Tianlin saw that besides these people, there was a new face who looked very familiar. After thinking for a while, she remembered that this was Yao Fen, the curator of Zhang Chen's Lakeside Oil Painting Gallery. When their oil painting gallery opened, Chu Tianlin saw pass her. She didn't know why Zhang Chen and the others brought her here today. Chu Tianlin walked over and shook hands with Yao Fen. "Hello, Director Yao." Yao Fen quickly said, "Sister Tianlin, you should call me Yao Fen. This curator sounds weird." "Okay, Yao Fen, welcome." Chu Tianlin smiled. "Sister Tianlin, I brought her here to discuss business with you," Zhang Chen said. "Business talk?" Chu Tianlin was surprised. "What business?" "Hey, we'll talk about the business later. Today is a success, so why don't we celebrate it, Sister Tianlin?" Lu Ligan shouted. Chu Tianlin asked, "Going to see your little sister?" Everyone laughed, except Yao Fen, who didn't know what they were laughing at. Lu Ligan chuckled, "Little sister, I'll go see you later. I've made arrangements for today at Tianxiang Tower. Let's take a walk." "Thank you for the tip from the third one from top to bottom, 131 on the shore. Thank you to Humor Tribe, have a safe journey, Li Rujin, and book friends 201901042017583118 for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all a happy work. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Xiniang. Chapter 1003. When they arrived at the Tianxiang building, it was still the same big box. After sitting down, Zhang Chen and Chu Tianlin explained the purpose of bringing Yao Fen here. Zhang Chen and Chu Tianlin said, "I thought of a piece of business that no one in the country has done yet. It turns out that they are not capable of doing it. But you have the ability to do it here." "What business?" Chu Tianlin asked. "Printing picture albums," Zhang Chen said. "The better picture albums we buy now are all printed abroad. The printing quality of those picture albums published by domestic publishing houses is too poor. There are only one or two good picture albums occasionally. It is also printed in Hong Kong. In fact, the business volume in this area is very large, and it will become bigger and bigger in the future." Yao Fen nodded and said, "Especially now that the calligraphy and painting auction market has developed and painters have become rich. Many painters would rather pay for it themselves and have their albums printed beautifully. After all, this will directly affect their reputation. Yes, it turns out that the cost of printing in Hong Kong is too high, so those picture albums are priced in the hundreds or even thousands. If you can print here, it will definitely be of great benefit to these domestic painters and publishing houses." Attractive, Zhang Chen said. Chu Tianlin nodded. She had indeed never thought of this aspect and had never paid attention to it. This album printing is not just a printing job. Starting from plate making and color separation, you need to have a certain understanding of the painting industry. The printed colors must be as close as possible to the original work. These require a lot of effort. So I thought, can we let Xiaoan learn from Yao Fen? At the same time, we publish a picture album of paintings from the Lakeside Oil Painting Museum. After this picture album is released, we will communicate with domestic publishing houses, art schools, and exhibition halls, and also will be sent to many well-known painters in China. When I received it, I saw that such a beautiful album was printed by a domestic company, Hangcheng Sankei Printing Co., Limited. Many people will definitely contact you. Zhang Chen said. Lu Ligan shouted from the side, yes, Sister Tianlin, Zhang Chen's suggestion is very good. If this piece is done, it will be really big. Think about it, even though a picture album only has a print run of only there are tens of thousands of copies, but this is incomparable to the brochures of those units. The picture album is a thick book with 100 or 200 pages. The format is so large that one book is worth 10 copies. Chu Tianlin nodded and said yes, let's give it a try. Chu Tianlin turned to Xiaoan. Xiaoan smiled and said, don't look at me. I definitely agree. I wish I could go to the Crystal Palace every day. Okay, then let's concentrate on getting it done. I believe that as long as this picture book is completed, your company will become famous in this industry, Zhang Chen said. If you all agree, I will contact Zhejiang Renmi tomorrow. We will cooperate with them to publish this album and get the ISBN from them, Yao Fen said. Let Xiaoan follow you, and you can teach her more, Chu Tianlin and Yao Fen said. Zhang Chen thought for a moment, and then he and Yao Fen said, we definitely can't print one collection of paintings. We need to divide them into volumes. After the paintings are selected, we can publish the first volume according to their age, and then slowly release the following volumes. Yao Fen said yes. The matter was thus settled. After they had settled their matters, Han Emperor Lu Bang and Chu Tianlin said, Miss Chu, you have a lot of things to do up front. I didn't tell you. My friend called me and said that the Manroland 900 has also been shipped from the port of Hamburg today. Really? Chu Tianlin shouted, so, it will arrive in more than 20 days. Today, the director of the Hangcheng cigarette factory told me that they are also waiting for this machine. Sister Tianlin, I have a suggestion, Lu Ligan said. Say, Chu Tianlin said. I think you need to build momentum. When this machine comes, it can no longer be so quiet. You need to make the momentum bigger. By the way, what magazines does your printing factory usually order? China Printing and China Packaging, Lu Ligan asked. Chu Tianlin nodded. Generally, I subscribe to these two magazines. The latest industry reports can be seen from here, so everyone will read them. Contact them immediately and place an advertisement to publicize it. It says that the country's first Manroland full-width printing press will be located in Hangcheng Sankei Printing Co., Limited, Lu Ligan said. The whole industry must know about this. Are you showing off again? Wu Zhaowei said. Chu Tianlin was also surprised and asked, why should I place this advertisement? You also need to write above that you welcome colleagues from all over the country to visit, Lu Ligan said. Why, it's not enough to welcome customers. Why welcome colleagues? Xiaoan asked. Colleagues are customers, Lu Ligan said. Every printing factory has many of its own old customers. If their old customers have orders for such large format printing, think about it, they won't look for them. Who do you want to go to? Someone from abroad. Not only does it cost time, but it also costs money. I will definitely go to you to do it. If more colleagues come, will it be faster than finding customers by yourself? In this way, I estimate that your large format printing business can be spread across the country at once. When Lu Ligan said this, everyone's eyes lit up, and they felt that Lu Ligan's words made sense. Chu Tianlin also thought that this kind of collaboration among peers was not normal. Of course, they would get their own jobs if others couldn't do it. Just do it here and make some money among them. I didn't expect you to have a lot of clever ideas. You think very well, Xiaoan said. Lu Ligan chuckled and said, you only found out today. This matter has been settled. Zhang Chen is responsible for designing the advertisements, and Lu Ligan is responsible for contacting these magazines. Lu Ligan and Chu Tianlin said, Sister Tianlin, don't worry, even if they have arranged the layout, I will squeeze in. This advertisement must appear in the latest issue, otherwise, our test run will be postponed by a month. Yes, the magazine is not a newspaper. It only has one issue a month. The manuscripts for the latest issue should have been compiled, but everyone here believes that Lou Ligon is not talking nonsense. Just have this ability. The next day, Lou Ligon negotiated the advertisements for these two magazines. Not only did he insert the advertisements, he also asked the two magazines to agree to send reporters when Chu Tianlin and others were testing the Manroland 900. Interview and publish a report of no less than 3,000 words. Yao Fen went to Zhejiang Renmi. As soon as Zhejiang Renmi heard about this, they were very interested, especially when they knew that there was such a printing factory in Hangzhou. As Zhang Chen said, they were surprised and pleasantly surprised. Their editor-in-chief and editorial director insisted that Yao Fen take them to see it immediately, and Yao Fen took them there. Chu Tianlin and Xiaoan also rushed to Gongchen Bridge from the company after receiving Yao Fen's call. The editor and director saw the Heidelberg Speedmaster SM52 and looked at the effect of the printed products. The colors are full, the dots are high in definition, the ink control is precise, and the color reproduction is high, all of which are needed for printing artworks. The printing quality here is comparable to those foreign picture albums they have seen. The two people immediately decided to establish a long-term cooperation with Chu Tianlin and his company. The two albums they were editing were printed before Zhang Chen and his company's Riverside Oil Painting Collection 1. Only then did Chu Tianlin realize that the domestic publishing market, which she had never been exposed to before, was in great demand. Chu Tianlin calculated that printing picture albums would be more profitable than printing brochures for units. Chu Tianlin had already decided in her heart that after the Manroland 900 arrived, she should immediately get a four-wheel drive Heidelberg machine. Otherwise, the Speedmaster SM52 would definitely be too late. According to Lou Ligon, Chu Tianlin also had a hunch that the large format printing business would not be bad, and the Manroland 900 would definitely be very busy. And using the machine at full power to print small formats is not cost-effective from any point of view. This Speedmaster SM52 only needs to be operated at full capacity for 2 months. Chu Tianlin calculated that she should have the money to buy a 4-boot machine. For printing, when things go smoothly, the money will come in so quickly. Yao Fen and Zhejiang Renmi have finalized the publication of their Riverside Oil Painting Museum Collection 1. The publishing house has sent an experienced editor to assist in the editing of this album. What Yao Fen and the Riverside Museum need to do that is, providing works from the collection and underwriting 5,000 albums. There is no pressure for them. This picture album can be sold in the art museum. There are also exchanges with other museums to donate picture albums to painters. 5,000 copies. Yao Fen and Zhao Xin estimate that they will be gone soon. You still need to contact the publishing house. While the Manroland 900 was still at sea, Liu Bang, the emperor of the Han dynasty, returned to Taipei. He stayed for a week, dealt with some nightclub matters, and then returned to Hangzhou. This time, he did not come back alone, but got a young man. The young man was fair and clean, and he was a little shy when meeting people. Liu Bang, the founder of the Han dynasty, said that he turned out to be the young master of his nightclub. Zhang Chen and the others didn't believe it no matter what they looked at. They all felt that he looked like this, and he didn't look like he was working in a nightclub. People who have been trained in that kind of place will still be shy wherever they see people. The young man's name is Wang Minsheng, and he is somewhat related to Liu Bang, the founder of the Han dynasty. He is called Uncle Liu Bang. Liu Bang, the emperor of the Han dynasty, said that Minsheng did work in my nightclub, but it didn't last long. He worked for half a year. Liu Bang, the emperor of the Han dynasty, saw that he was really not a person suitable for social mixing, so he sent him to a friend's place, the Grand Hotel in Taipei. Learn to make Western pastry and become a Western pastry chef. Unexpectedly, Min Sheng turned out to be this talented and soon became an excellent pastry chef. The cake he made last year even won an award in Japan. Min Hung had always wanted to open a cake shop in mainland China in partnership with Liu Bang, the emperor of Han Dynasty. Liu Bang, the emperor of Han Dynasty, also felt that there was really a gap in mainland China. He had tried cakes made by cake shops in mainland China, but none of them had delicious cakes. Not to mention compared to the cakes made by Min Sheng, even compared to the cakes in ordinary cake shops in Taipei, they are far behind. Originally, after the Spring Festival, Min Hung was going to come to the mainland with Liu Bang, the great ancestor of the Han Dynasty, but Liu Bang left in a hurry. When he came back this time, Min Hung wanted to come to the mainland with him no matter what. Liu Bang, the emperor of the Han Dynasty, asked Min Hung to show his skills. Min Hung agreed. There was an oven in the canteen in the dynamic zone downstairs from Zhongchen. They decided to cook it here. Min Hung looked at the inventory in the canteen and followed the second-hand goods to the food market. When I came back, I was very sorry to tell everyone that I couldn't buy many things. I couldn't make the most delicious cake today, so we had to make do with it. Tan Shahen ran back specially and brought Xiang Nan and Xiang Bei over. Chu Tianlin and Xiaoan also ran over from the opposite side. Min Hung made 3 cakes, and Zhao Jingjing and Huo helped bring them up from below. Zhang Chen invited people from the Finance Center and Design Center to come over and taste them, and give them their opinions. At the beginning, everyone was still nervous and embarrassed to take more. There were only Xiangnan and Xiangbei. 2 people rushed to the front. Each of them took a big piece. Xiangnan took a bite and shouted, "Ah, this cake is too delicious, isn't it?" At first everyone thought this was an exaggeration from a child, but after tasting it, the expressions on their faces began to become richer, and their hands began to move faster. When Xiang Nan Xiangbei finished eating and wanted another piece, 3 cakes they were all robbed, and everyone was laughing and joking, feeling the pleasure of eating on the sly. Ji Ling shouted, "To be honest, I have never eaten such a delicious cake." Many people followed suit, including me and me. Open quickly, Your Majesty, it is God's will not to allow your cake shop to open, Lu Ligan and Han Jiaozu Lu Bang said. Wang Minheng saw that everyone was praising his delicious cake. He stood there with a shy smile and said to them, "It's not that delicious yet. If the ingredients are all right, it could be even better." Thank you HXH1221 and Lao Chantang for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. Have a good evening everyone. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1004. Liu Bang, the emperor of the Han Dynasty, quickly opened his cake shop. The cake shop was called Black Forest, which was the name of Wang Minsheng's award-winning cake in Japan. The cake shop is located on the first floor of Jingxiu Home on Tianmushan Road. This store was Lu Ligan's idea. This place used to be the sales department of Yiming Food Factory. After Lu Ligan built Jingxiu Home, according to the agreement, 100 square meters of store space was given to Yiming Food Factory. As a result, Yiming Food Factory's products were selling well in shopping malls, but this store was operating only tepidly. 100 square meters is used to sell food. The area is not small anymore. It requires a lot of thinking. Unexpectedly, Fan Kishun still sent a former half-acre farm store that Zhang Chen and the others bought on Yan'an Road. Manager Mao from the sales department of Ming Food Factory went there to be the manager. This person is obedient and honest. Fan Kishun would never dare to say one thing, but he really is not a person who knows anything about business. He still continues the style of the sales department of Lao Yiming Food Factory. I walked into 2 rows of more than a dozen counters and didn't buy anything else. They all sold Yiming Food Factory's own products. Where can Yiming Food Factory have so many products that can support a store of 100 square meters? The merchandise in the store was sparsely arranged, giving it a decaying look. The sales staff were also indifferent to people, making customers who entered immediately regret that they had entered the wrong store and had no time to escape. Lou Ligon shook his head every time he passed by this place, feeling that this idiot, even if he was the only store in Hangzhou, would still open and close the door for you. He didn't know why Lao Fan had to reuse such an idiot. Liu Bang, the emperor of the Han dynasty, wanted to open a cake shop. Lou Ligon's first thought was this place. If he died early, he would be born again. If this store is closed, it can save some money for Yiming Food Factory. And this place is perfect for opening a cake shop. The size of the store is just right, and the location is also perfect. When Lou Ligon mentioned this place, everyone else agreed. Xiao Zhao and Zhang Chen lived there, and of course they were familiar with it. She said that place was surrounded by residential areas and there were many people at night. Liu Bang, the emperor of the Han dynasty, often went to Laotan to fight fiercely at night. Of course, he was also familiar with the splendid homeland area. Lou Ligon immediately called and handed over the task of renting a store to Fan Jiangguo. Since Fan Jiangguo became the vice president of Zhejiang Jingxiu Dadi Real Estate Co., Limited, his status in the family has been very high. His salary is several times that of Fan Qishun. The company also provided him with a car and a mobile phone. The slug he used to be has transformed. He became a famous person in their area, which made Lao Fan feel very proud. This Fan Jiangguo has the right to speak on an equal footing with Fan Qishun at home. Fan Jiangguo told Fan Qishun about renting a store. When Fan Qishun heard this, he immediately said no, 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 that store department doesn't make a penny, so I have to support it there. The store in the urban area is gone, and it became a rural enterprise in Xiaosha, not an enterprise in Old Hangzhou. Fan Jiangguo scolded, "You are renting a house, not selling it. If this house is rented, what you receive is rent, and the house is not still yours." Fan Qishun just said no, no, but what he was actually thinking was that the sales department was gone, and so was Lao Mao's seat. But when Fan Jiangguo said that Lou Ligon's Taiwanese friend wanted to rent this house, and it was Lou Ligon who asked him to come back and tell him, Fan Qishun's tone softened. In his heart, he admired Lou Ligon and was a little grateful. It was Lou Ligon who made their father and son live such a comfortable life. Fan Qishun has never forgotten this. The next morning, Fan Qishun did not take the factory car to Xiaosha factory, but rode his bicycle to the sales department of Yiming Food Factory on Tianmushan Road. He called manager Mao out, and the two of them squatted on the edge of the sidewalk to smoke. Fan Qishun and manager Mao said, "You go back to the factory and go to work." "I won't go," manager Mao said. Fan Qishun looked at him and said, "My friend wants to rent this place." Manager Mao understood that he had to go now. He said, "Okay. It's not good for me to bring this up. If you ask me to bring it up, just say it's not beneficial and you might as well rent it out," Fan Qishun said. Manager Mao nodded and said, "Okay." The two of them smoked for a while, and Fan Qishun asked, "Do you know how to say this?" Manager Mao said he knew. The two continued to smoke for a while, and manager Mao asked, "When should I go find you?" "Afternoon." "Good." In the afternoon, Fan Qishun was talking with the secretary and several other people in the office. Manager Mao came in and said to Fan Qishun, "Director Fan, I'm really embarrassed to stay in the sales department. Not a penny of profit has been created for the factory. The money earned is not enough to pay the wages of the store staff." Fan Qishun glared at him and cursed, "You only know now." Manager Mao said, "Either we can rent out the sales department and we can still earn some rent, and the few of us can do something when we return to the factory, otherwise we will really retire there. Fan Kishun scratched his head, thought for a moment and said, "You finally said something humane, but don't expect me to wipe your ass. Find someone to rent it to me, and then go back to the factory." The secretary left, everyone else left, and manager Mao also left. When Fan Kishun was alone in Fan Kishun's office, he called Fan Jiangguo and told him, "You ask Mr. Liu's Taiwanese friend to go to the store to find manager Mao." After renting this place, Zhang Chen helped Lu Bang design it. However, there was actually nothing good to design. The main design was the door. The inside was divided into two, with 1/3 being the operation room and 2/3. It is the cake shop sales area. The layout of the cake shop is directly based on the appearance of cake shops in Taiwan. When placed in the mainland, it looks fresh. That kind of low glass counter was unavailable, so Wang Minsheng drew a picture, and Lao Tan asked the carpenters and glass workers on the construction site to help make it. Lao Wan sent someone to repave the floor with tiles, made partitions according to Wang Minsheng's requirements, and rescraped paint on the walls. After the work inside Lao Wan was finished, the stainless steel and plexiglass door head that Zhang Chen asked someone to make outside was also finished. The stainless steel frame, the black plexiglass bottom, and the dark green song font on it. Others think it's not that it's not conspicuous enough. It should be written in white on a red background. Lu Bang, the founder of the Han Dynasty, shouted, "No, no, 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 I know me best, so I want this." Wang Minsheng rushed to Guangzhou and bought a batch of goods. Basically, what he wanted could be found in Guangzhou, which made him relieved. In less than a week, the Black Forest cake shop of Han Emperor Lu Bang and Wang Minsheng opened. At this time, Chu Tianlin's Manroland 900 was still floating on the sea and had not yet arrived in Shanghai, but it was almost there and already walked along the coastline of the motherland. The business of the Black Forest cake shop was unexpectedly booming. Zhang Chen and the others expected the business to be good, but they never expected it to be so good. They also didn't expect that the people of Hangzhou were so eagerly waiting for the good news. Cakes presents. Every day there is a long queue to buy cakes in front of the store. Many people were just passing by Tianmushan Road. Seeing such a long queue, they jumped off the bus and queued to the back of the queue, which annoyed the salesperson of the Jing'ai Group sales department next door. "I come out and scold you every day, oh, you have blocked the entrance of our store, how can we do business?" The people in line rolled their eyes at her and thought to themselves, "This shabby shop like you has no business in the first place, so why is it blocked?" This small shop suddenly became famous in Hangzhou. It not only sells birthday cakes and other kinds of cakes, but also sells a variety of breads, and cute cheese and cream pastries. It even sells there is Taiwanese peanut nougat and yogurt. Lu Bang, the emperor of the Han Dynasty, struck while the iron was hot and immediately opened 4 more Black Forest cake shops in Hangzhou. Then, he opened the shops in Shanghai and Suzhou and also achieved success. The next layout is Nanjing, Hefei and Ningbo. This is a story for later. Before the Spring Festival, the procedures for Lu Ligan's splendid West Lake had been completed. Lu Ligan and the others continued the old style. While the procedures were still being completed, Lao Wan's team had already entered the venue. Jason and the others, while the design drawings were still being produced, advanced drilling had been completed and pile foundation construction had begun. Here the drawings come out and the process is followed, and Lao Wan excavates the earth according to the drawings. Anyway, Lu Ligan had already said hello. As long as you say hello, the process will definitely be smooth and satisfactory. On the contrary, if you have not said hello, your process may not go smoothly. This is just the way it is, and this is how it must be handled. By the time Han Emperor Lu Bang's Black Forest cake shop opened, It was already April, the foundation pit support of splendid West Lake had been completed, and the basement structure had begun to come up. But Tan Shahen began to worry. She turned on the TV and newspapers every day, and saw that the Asian financial crisis was still going on. Either the index was falling crazily, or the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund were providing emergency assistance to which country in how many dollars, or the finance minister and central bank governor of that country. Even the president steps down. The haze still hangs over Asia and it still looks bleak. From a small perspective in China, for example, Chu Tianlin's printing factory is doing very well, and Han Emperor Lu Bang's cake shop is doing very well, but the overall economic environment has not seen any improvement. Among the troika of exports, domestic demand, and investment, the first two seem to be two weak old horses that cannot run. Only investment is left, which has become the content of the news broadcast to announce good news to the people across the country every day. Tan Shahen was counting on splendid West Lake to be able to support their company in 1998, but whether it could be sustained or not, Tan Shahen had no idea at all. At least it could be seen from the sales of the Meisi River project that it had not started to improve. The business of Zhang Chen's specialty store shows no sign of improvement. Tan Shahen believes that these two are more meaningful barometers than Chu Tianlin's printing factory and Lu Bang's cake shop. Fei Wang and Na Ying's Meet Me was being sung all over the street, and Tan Shahen would sometimes hum it subconsciously. The song was relaxing and pleasant, but when Tan Shahen sat down in the office and thought about it quietly, her mood could not be relaxed. Thank you to Dal Tin Soldier and RIRI Shushu for the reward. Thank you Daibao for your monthly ticket. Thanks for all the votes and reading. Stay healthy everyone. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei-Shi Niang. Chapter 1005. Chu Tianlin's Manroland 900 arrived. After it was installed in place, Manroland sent a Spaniard and a female translator from Beijing to test the machine. The Spaniard and Frank were two extremes. He went to the factory to have a look and found that it was also Fei. There is also Fei, the female translator told Chu Tianjian. Fei means good in Spanish, okay. Judging from his age, this guy could be the father of the female translator, but the two of them, from the first moment Chu Tianjian saw them, were as close as a couple. Chu Tianjian cursed the female translator in his heart. She was really mean. You can choose such an old ghost guy. After this guy went around saying no, no for a while, he went to hang out with the female translator and never showed up in the factory again. Chu Tianjian's heart skipped a beat at that time, thinking, how could Manroland hire this guy? A company that would hire such a guy is probably not much better. Chu Tianjian thought at that time, even if it was just for Frank's sake, he would never buy Manroland as long as Heidelberg had models in the future. This ghost guy stayed in Hangzhou for 4 days. They didn't know when or how he left. They didn't know until the front desk of the International Building Hotel called and asked them to check out. Xiaoan went and came back with a sad face. Chu Tianlin asked what happened. Xiaoan showed her the bill of more than 12,000 yuan, and Chu Tianlin was also shocked. Because it was an agreement unit, they were in the International Building, and they got the negotiated price. The 4-day room fee was only more than 1,100 yuan. Others are for dining in restaurants and shopping at shopping malls below. Only then did Chu Tianlin realize that it turned out that Chu Tianjian was right when he said he was a Spanish bastard. Fortunately, there was a thick operating manual that came with the machine. It was in German and Chu Tianjian could understand it. He spent a few days reading the operating manual carefully and excerpted the important parts. Translated into Chinese and hung on the wall, for the workers to see. Heidelberg Speedmaster SM52 also has an operation manual, but Chu Tianjian has rarely read it. He followed Frank's teachings, and he wrote down what he asked the workers to do, because all instructions and operation manuals, whether Chinese or foreign, are available. One thing they have in common is that they always make simple things as complicated as possible, which often leaves people confused. But this time Chu Tianjian had doubts in his heart and did not dare to be careless. He insisted on reading the thick operation manual and thought he understood it. Then he rechecked the machine and confirmed that it was correct before starting to test the machine. This Spaniard was originally sent to assist in testing the machine. Now, he didn't know where to go or what machine he was trying, so Chu Tianjian had no choice but to do it himself. After trying the test machine, Chu Tianjian felt confident. Looking at the things printed by this Manroland 900, he had to admit that the machine was still a good machine. With such a large format, the colors were still uniform and the ink dots were thick. We know that the larger the printing format, the longer the length of the rubber cylinder and impression cylinder, and the difficulty of control increases. The printing effect of the whole sheet is no less than the printing quality of the Speedmaster SM52 Dabo when it is turned on. This is not simple. After the test run, the next step is to wait for the official start-up on April 16th. On that day, there will be customers invited by them, and there are many more. When I saw the advertisements in China Printing and China Packaging, I came uninvited. Peers and customers come. On April 16th, the giant advertisement designed by Gaoya and planned to be taken to Japan for an exhibition by the Provincial Tourism Bureau, Landscapes, Zhejiang Travel, was going to be printed on the machine. On the day of April 16th, many people came and friends came to help. Zhang Chen called the driver of their factory bus and drove the factory bus to the train station to pick up the guests. Lu Ligan and his company's driver, the van driver, drove the van to the airport to pick up the guests, while Huo and Xiaosheng kept going back and forth to the long-distance bus station to pick up the guests. There are really many colleagues and uninvited guests. The purpose of their coming here is to see the famous Manroland 900. They arrived in Hangzhou and followed the address on the advertisement to find the Hangzhou 3-Color Printing Limited. Today, the gate of the Hangcheng Spoke Factory has been renovated. At the gate, one side hangs the sign of Hangcheng Sankei Printing Co., Limited, and the other side hangs the sign of Hangcheng Jinxiu Dadi Construction Co., Ltd. The road inside has also been renovated. Both sides of the road are filled with congratulatory flower baskets. There are so many flower baskets that they are placed from the outside gate to the door of the printing factory inside, where they are placed horizontally on several levels. Nowadays, this place no longer looks like the decaying appearance of the Hangcheng Spoke Factory. It already looks like a busy factory area. There are so many people coming that everyone who enters the printing factory area will have a guest card hanging on their chest. Those invited guests will be given a guest card when they stay in the international building. They ate in the hotel restaurant with their guest cards. When the time came, they got on the bus with their guest cards and arrived here together. Xiaoan and Yingying set up a table at the gate of the Spoke Factory. They were responsible for receiving guests and colleagues who came by themselves. On the table was a sign saying, "Guests, please give me your business card," and an open book. After the guests register in the book, Xiaoan and Yingying will give them a visit pass. You can enter the factory to visit with your visit pass. After the visit is over, you can also go to the hotel for dinner together if necessary. Xiaoan and Yingying were busy registering guests and issuing certificates. Xiaoan suddenly cursed Obi, and Yingying was startled. This is a curse word rarely used by girls in Hangzhou dialect. Before Yingying understood what was going on, Xiaoan had already stood up and ran out. Yingying hurriedly chased her to the gate, and saw Xiaoan grabbing her from behind. A man was walking back in a hurry. The man turned around, he smiled awkwardly and said, "Xiaoan, why is it you? I'm waiting for guests, brother-in-law, why don't you go in when you get to the door?" Xiaoan asked. This person was none other than Chu Tianlin's ex-husband Tong Chao. He also saw in a magazine that there was a company called Sankei Printing Co., Limited in Hangzhou. It actually bought a Manroland 900, so he decided to return to Hangzhou. Take a look, Firstly, I am curious about who Hang Cheng is. With such strength, he can actually afford Manroland 900. Secondly, I also want to establish contact and see how we can cooperate in the future. Tong Chao is also from Hangzhou, and he still feels that it is more peaceful to cooperate with people in his hometown and communicate in a different way. In the past few years, he has also received a lot of large format printing. He cannot do it in his own factory, not even in Hong Kong. He is recommended to a friend's foreign trade company, and they help go to Europe or Japan to do it. If there is a printing factory in Hangzhou, if he can do these businesses, he can take them on his own. He never thought that this might be Chu Tianlin's factory. He knew that Manroland 900 was expensive. Chu Tianlin didn't have the strength. Even if he had the money, Chu Tianlin didn't have the courage to spend more than 20 million to enter. For such a piece of equipment, Chu Tianlin opposed it for a long time when they wanted to bring the Heidelberg machine to Shenzhen. Tong Chao walked to the door and suddenly saw Xiaoan sitting behind the table inside the door, registering guests. He was stunned for a moment, then turned around and left. Unexpectedly, Xiaoan also saw him and chased him out. Tong Chao quickly said to Xiaoan, "I'm sending a friend to this door. He is a stranger and doesn't know the way. By the way, Xiaoan, why are you here?" Xiaoan's smile was as bright as a flower. "I work here, brother-in-law. Let's walk around here. Why don't you go in and take a look? They are all engaged in printing. Don't you want to see what Manroland 900 looks like? Let me tell you, there is also a Heidelberg Speedmaster SM52 inside, which is much more advanced than the one we originally had in Shenzhen." The person was held by Xiaoan and couldn't leave. Xiaoan said this again, and Tong Chao could only follow the trend and say, "Really? Okay, then I'll go take a look." The two people walked back and passed by Ying Ying. Tong Chao asked, "Do we need to register?" No, what do you need to register if you follow me?" Xiaoan said, and said to Ying Ying, "This is my brother-in-law, Ying Ying. I will take my brother-in-law in to have a look. You can support me here." "Your brother-in-law?" Ying Ying was stunned for a moment, and then she understood that this was the bastard. Ying Ying also understood what Xiaoan was going to do. Ying Ying said, "Okay, Xiaoan, take your brother-in-law to have a good look. Look carefully." She said the word brother-in-law very loudly, and Tong Chao could only smile awkwardly at her. Xiaoan took Tong Chao's arm and walked inside. Tong Chao said, "Xiaoan, how long have you been working in this company?" "I came here when it was established. Wherever my sister goes, I have to follow her," Xiaoan said lightly. "Your sister is also in this company?" Yes, Xiaoan nodded. "What position does your sister hold in this company?" "Supply and Marketing Section Chief," Tong Chao asked. "Grow up bigger, Baiko." "A little older, Vice President." "A little bigger." "Bigger than the Vice President, Executive Vice President." "It's still big, General Manager," Xiaoan said. Tong Chao was surprised and shouted, "Is your sister the General Manager of this company?" Xiaoan nodded, and Tong Chao thought for a moment and understood. When Chu Tianlin left Shenzhen, didn't he take 4.8 million with him? She probably bought shares here and had clients, so they invited her. Being a general manager is reasonable. "Xiaoan, did your sister co-found this company? How much share does your sister hold in this company? 5% or 10%? Xiaoan deliberately pretended to be stupid and said, "Brother-in-law, I don't understand what you are talking about. However, I went to the Industrial and Commercial Bureau to apply for the business license. I saw on the license that there were only two people. Chu Tianjian owned 10% of the shares. My sister owns 90% of the shares. Brother-in-law, is this a company that you co-founded with someone else?" Ah, Tong Chao was really surprised. Who would have thought that this company belonged to Chu Tianlin? As they spoke, they arrived at the door inside. Tong Chao saw Chu Tianlin standing at the door, smiling and shaking hands with the guests. Tan Shahen and Xiao Zhao also helped lead the guests inside. Tong Chao saw Tan Shahen and wanted to go back. Shrinking, Xiao An's arms tightly clamped his arms, and shouted at the same time. Sister, sister, look who's here to congratulate me. Chu Tianlin turned around and stood there stunned. If there was a hole, Tong Chao would have crawled in, but unfortunately there was no hole. There was only Xiao An holding his arm tightly, and Chu Tianlin looking at him. Tong Chao could only be led away by Xiao An. Chu Tianlin came to her senses, nodded slightly and said, "Hello, welcome." Then Tan Shahen and Xiao Zhao also saw them. The two came over. Tan Shahen said, "Hello, Mr. Tong, it's so rare. Why didn't your lady come with you?" Xiaoan and Xiao Zhao laughed. Xiaoan shook off Tong Chao's hand and said with a smile, "Brother-in-law, I brought it for you. I have to go and do my own business. There are many guests today. I'm going to see if they have brought your wife with them." After Xiaoan finished speaking, he walked towards the outer door. "Thank you for the tip from the third one from top to bottom, 131 on the shore. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all a happy life. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment." The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Niang. Chapter 1006. Many customers who came to see the printing effect of Manroland 900 signed contracts with Chu Tianlin and others at that time. Hangcheng's cigarette factory also immediately had the intention to change their packaging boxes and outer packaging boxes to color printing. This is the first cigarette factory in the country to use color printing for the outer packaging of cigarettes. Zhang Chen decided to help them design it well, so that he would definitely attract more similar customers. After the entire afternoon's activities, the customers were sent back to the hotel. Only friends like Zhang Chen and Lu Ligan were left in the factory. Everyone was sitting in Chu Tianlin's conference room on the second floor, watching Chu Tianlin and Xiaoan sorting out and making statistics. With the contract, everyone feels satisfied. This is especially true for Tan Shahen and Xiao Zhao. What makes them more satisfied than receiving so many orders is that they humiliated Tong Chao earlier and made him escape in a hurry. They looked at the figure laughs from behind. Chu Tianlin also laughed, and shed tears as she smiled, but she knew that these were happy tears. Tong Chao walked to the gate and was seen by Xiaoan. He didn't even say hello to Xiaoan and just walked out. When Xiaoan saw his expression, he knew that he was inside. With Tan Shahen there, he definitely didn't get any advantage. This time Xiaoan was not as smiling as before, but scolded, "Luer, you are such a slut, you fool, please play more." After finishing the statistics, Chu Tianlin looked at Zhang Chen and the others blankly and sighed. Xiao Zhao quickly asked, "Sister, what's wrong?" Chu Tianlin felt something was stuck in her throat and could not speak. Xiaoan smiled and said, "According to the contract, this machine is basically fully booked this year, not counting those interested customers." Everyone screamed, "Let's go, there are so many guests waiting, and reporters from China Printing and China Packaging are still waiting to interview you." "Sister Tianlin, please think of what to say," Lu Ligan shouted. "Yes, there are so many guests waiting to have a dinner together in the restaurant of the International Building, let's go." The other people were full of wine and food, and came over to shake hands with Chu Tianlin and Xiaoan one by one. The two of them saw them off, and then they had time to sit down and have a good meal. The other people, regardless of gender, all took the 30% off coupons issued by Xiao Zhao and the others and went to the Ben Muxian store next door to buy clothes. This was a rare discount on Ben Muxian genuine clothing. Those men didn't know that they were being the woman at the same table said this and went to buy clothes for her family. The only thing left in the huge restaurant was the table of their good friends. They were all waiting to celebrate with Chu Tianlin. Chu Tianlin also drank a lot of wine for the first time. Everyone was enjoying themselves, but Chu Tianlin couldn't help it anymore. She told them that she would definitely buy a 4-boot machine in a few months. She said yes, the Speedmaster SM52, and now the workers are working in 3 shifts. They are too busy, and many old customers are now putting their work in the back row. This can be comforted for the time being, but over time, these old customers will definitely be lost. Because everything that needs to be printed has time requirements. Who would spend money to print a bunch of things that are not urgent to use and then put them there? As soon as Chu Tianlin said this, the men all laughed, and Lu Ligan said, "Okay, Sister Tianlin, you finally have enlightened yourself and become bolder." Chu Tianlin smiled and said, "Following you, even those who are not brave will be strengthened by you." "Since it's too late now, Sister Tianlin, why do you have to wait a few months?" Zhang Chen asked. Chu Tianlin said, "As long as I run the 2 machines together for another 2 months, I will have money to buy a machine and pay you back part of the money. Why are you so anxious about us? Don't keep this money and use it as working capital," Xiao Zhao said. Chu Tianlin and Xiaoan looked at each other and laughed. Chu Tianlin said, "I didn't even think that I really don't need any working capital now." Lao Tan was surprised and asked, "You produce so many things every day, so you don't need working capital?" "Yes, because there is so much, there is no need for working capital," Chu Tianlin said. "Now I have realized the benefits of a large enterprise. In our factory, the biggest demand every day is paper and ink, as well as silk screens for plate making. And accessories, what's the result? Everyone wants to do our business. Everything is delivered to your door first and you pay later. Like paper, whatever paper we need, they deliver it by the carload, and they only come to settle the bill with us once every 3 months. The same is true for other things, but when we sign a printing contract with others, there are all it's a deposit. Tell me, what other working capital do I need?" Everyone understands that this is what happened. Zhang Chen also remembered that he was also like this. When he first made clothes, he went to Zhangjiagong Sankei company to order, and he had to pay money to arrange production. Now, if he needs anything, he can just fax it and it will be done the next day. In 2 or 3 months, the other party's finance department will fax the list, and Xiao Zhao will arrange the payment. Sister Tianlin, this matter should be done sooner rather than later. If you put in the machine a few months late, you will lose a few months of money. As you said, old customers will run away. We still have to ask for this matter. Brother Lu learned from this, strike while the iron is hot and arrange the machines immediately, you don't need to worry about the money, Zhang Chen said. Yes, sister, you listen to him on this, Xiao Zhao said. Yes, you should just listen to us about this kind of thing, Lu Ligan shouted. Lu Bang, the great ancestor of the Han dynasty, stood up and said, I'll contact him right away. Is it better to contact Heidelberg? Zhang Chen said yes, and I heard Chu Tianjian's opinion. He was more at ease with Heidelberg. He was scared of that Spanish bastard, Xiaoan said. What Spanish bastard? Tan Shahen asked. Xiaoan told them about the Spaniards sent by Manroland. Everyone laughed wildly. Wuzai cursed, there are really many such idiots, no matter what color they are or how old they are, as long as they are, if you are a foreigner, you will take the initiative to deliver it to your door. Lu Bang, the emperor of the Han dynasty, came back and asked, Miss Chu, how about Heidelberg's Speedmaster QM74? The maximum printing format is 52 by 74 centimeters. Chu Tianlin said yes. Then I'll ask my friend to book it and help us sign the contract tomorrow. Lu Bang, the emperor of the Han dynasty, looked at Zhang Chen and asked, and Zhang Chen said yes. After eating, Zhang Chen and Xiao Zhao sent Chu Tianlin and the others back to the downstairs of Chu Tianlin's house. They all got off and stood there. Chu Tianlin said to them, "I really don't know how to thank you." Xiao Zhao quickly said, "Sister, don't say such things." Zhang Chen thought for a while and said to Chu Tianlin, "Sister Tianlin, do you know that you were the one who reached out to pull me out when I was desperate and about to drown? That's what we should do." Chu Tianlin was stunned for a moment, and suddenly her eyes felt moist. Without saying anything, she hugged Xiao Zhao, and then she hugged Zhang Chen for the first time. Everyone's world runs according to each person's rhythm and personal trajectory. The larger world also has its own rhythm and trajectory. In the eyes of Ren Rongrong and Chen Yaqian, the whole of Asia is still chaotic and even chaotic, but they are happy to watch this chaos and only hope that the chaos will be better. They are the ones who can win in chaos and win in the fire. Chestnut Man. After shorting the yen, they felt like two witches. As expected, the yen began to depreciate day by day, and Japan began to deteriorate day by day. This made them excited. They decisively increased their positions to 50%. For operating with a leverage of 100 times, the risk of such a position was actually very high. Because they were afraid that the Bank of Japan would suddenly take action to kill the short sellers, they still set up a position. Stop-loss position. In this way, even if their account will not be cleared, as long as it happens once, they will still suffer heavy losses. They dared to increase their positions to such a large position because they believed that the Bank of Japan should no longer be able to intervene in the market. The successive bankruptcies of banks and securities companies have made them exhausted. Without strong external help, Japan itself, there is no way to save the yen. On March 26, the World Bank announced that it would provide South Korea with a loan of $2 billion for 15 years to help South Korea tide over the difficulties. On the same day, the U.S. House of Representatives and the Senate approved providing $17.9 billion in funding to the International Monetary Fund to prevent the spread of the Asian financial crisis. Ren Rongrong and Chen Yaqian suddenly became nervous. They were worried that the situation would start to improve. Several people discussed for a day and decided to readjust the stop-loss line, so that if the market reverses, the losses can be reduced. They live every day in fear and uneasiness. Someone is watching the disk 24 hours a day. Others dare not leave the office and sleep on the sofa or make a bed on the floor. Once the people watching the disk notice violent fluctuations in the disk, it will wake other people up. Chen Yaqian even dreamed that she was woken up and yelled at her, it's over, the yen has appreciated significantly." Chen Yaqian woke up from her dream and realized that it was a dream that she was woken up. She stood up and walked to the bathroom, wiped her face, and then stared at herself in the mirror. When she walked out, she saw Ren Rongrong sitting up from the ground and looking at her blankly. Chen Yaqian asked Ren Rongrong, "Rongrong, do you think I am much older?" Ren Rongrong said, "You are old when you are old, as long as the yen can depreciate." Chen Yaqian scolded, "Get lost. No wonder no one wants you, you are so uncouth." Ren Rongrong laughed loudly, "I'm talking about you. It doesn't matter to me when you get old. When you get old, the yen can still depreciate. That's not the best of both worlds." "Go away again," Chen Yaqian scolded. Chen Yaqian walked to the window and opened the curtains. She was shocked when she saw that Zhang Chen's office on the other side of the canal was still lit. She looked at her watch. It was already past 1 o'clock. What would he be doing in the office at this time? Chen Yaqian stared at the opposite side blankly, and then she realized that she had not thought of Zhang Chen for a long time. She seemed to be more concerned about the rise and fall of the yen every day. Only the rise and fall of the yen was comparable to it. All my personal little emotions seemed to have faded far away. Chen Yaqian was reluctant to let go. She felt that Zhang Chen was about to be swamped by Japanese yen. She was reluctant to let go, but there was no other way. This was a fact. Just forget it, as long as the yen can fall. Chen Yaqian heard a voice in her heart saying to herself. She was startled, and then Chen Yakin sighed. "Thank you for your monthly ticket, why can't I change my name? Thanks for all the votes and reading. Have a good evening everyone." The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei-Shi Niang. Chapter 1007. The only thing that can support Ren Rongrong and Chen Yakin to persist is that the Nikkei index has been falling. From a technical analysis, there is no possibility of a reversal in the short term. Although the Japanese yen rises and falls against the US dollar every day, it always falls a lot. The price has risen a little. Today it has risen by 3 or 4 yuan, which makes them sleepless. But tomorrow it will drop by 6 or 7 yuan. All this shows that the bulls and the bears are fighting fiercely, and although the bulls are resisting, their confidence is obviously insufficient. The financial market is a market supported by confidence. Confidence is often more important than technical data. Every release of the U.S. non-farm payrolls indicator will cause huge fluctuations in the foreign exchange market. In fact, these data have a profound impact on the actual U.S. economy. The impact is not big, but the big impact is the confidence of investors. Once confidence collapses, the entire market will collapse. The collapse of financial markets is caused by the collapse of confidence caused by panic. Seeing the timidity of the bulls, they felt temporarily at ease. They felt that the bulls were suffering more than their bears now. They paid close attention to any disturbance in the market. Their nerves were tense and they were ready to give up at any time. Possibility of keeping. If they abandon the defense, it's time for them to pursue the victory. Every day is very long, and for them, it's all too late. When you open your eyes in the morning, you don't know what will happen today. Although they stay at home and haven't walked out of this office door for a long time, but they had already handed over their fate to the market. Even Lao Ni did not call her again after being rejected by Chen Yakin twice. Chen Yakin knew that for Lao Ni, what was more important than herself was the money in the account. Chen Yakin, was no longer the original Chen Yakin. With a beautiful face and delicious beauty, but a machine that can make money. Compared with her delicious beauty, her function of making money is more important to Lao Ni. Chen Yakin vaguely heard that Lao Ni seemed to have hired a new assistant, a college student, who was very beautiful. Chen Yakin certainly knew what Lao Ni wanted to do, and she also forgot where she got the news. There is a lot of news that has legs and wings of its own. Even if you don't leave home, the news will come to you on its own. Every night, when Lao Ni did not return to Kikiao, Chen Yakin knew that he and this assistant must have gone to the hotel where they often went. She would sit in the seat where she had sat, accept Lao Ni's attentiveness, and sit in the hotel where she often Saturday she sat in the passenger seat, went home and got into the same bed she had slept with countless times. Half-stepping and half-stepping, she finally passed the stop-loss line and was completely out of the position. Chen Yakin even felt that Lao Ni bought her and Ren Rongrong a house by the Meisi River just to get rid of her. When Chen Yakin thought of this, she felt a little sad in her heart, but at the same time she was also a little relieved. She was very willing for Lao Ni to just forget about her. But that's impossible. As long as she is still tied to his account, it is impossible for him to forget her, and there is no possibility that she will be untied to his account now. Trading is sometimes like taking drugs. After you experience the ups and downs and the fight of life and death, you can never return to peace. She forgot how she got to be with him. She only remembered that she felt isolated and helpless at that time. Many people longed for her, but there was always an invisible wall between her and them. She didn't know this wall. How did it come about? She only felt that she was alone. Everything around her was squeezing her and she could no longer breathe. When he hugged her for the first time, Chen Yakin clearly remembered that she wanted to break away and scold him, but she struggled to break free. She felt that she suddenly became weak, and there was a voice in her heart that kept ringing. Forget it. At that moment, if there was a mirror, Chen Yakin believed that she would have looked ferocious. She had the energy to break a jar. If it happened again, she hoped that nothing happened. If so, Chen Yakin felt that when she stood here and looked at the window across the canal, Zhang Chen would not feel so far away. But if that were the case, she, Chen Yakin, would not even have the chance to stand in front of this window if she went to Hangzhou. Chen Yakin thinks that fate is so funny. When you think you are being yourself, others are actually deciding your destiny. When you think you can do whatever you want, your hands and feet are tied. You can't actually do anything. Just like now, their bodies are free. In this building, they may be the only two people who are not imprisoned by commuting time, but this is how they imprison themselves in this room. Many times, Chen Yakin even doubted whether she could survive until the last moment. When she was feeling depressed, she looked across the way, at Zhang Chen's window, and felt that they were farther apart, a canal, that is. A natural chasm. Zhang Chen is in another world, his place may be calm, but here, the undercurrent is turbulent. Chen Yakin was even prepared for the worst, waiting for the raging waves to swallow her up. She thought the last thing she would look at would be the window on the opposite side of the canal. Although the window was unmoved and didn't even know she existed. Every time she woke up, Chen Yakin felt herself trembling involuntarily. She listened quietly for a while and then opened her eyes. She saw Molly or Beijing or Su Aijuan sitting there quietly, and then she relaxed. Tone. Since the darkest moment refuses to come for a long time, how about a good day? All this must come to an end, right? Chen Yakin felt that it had been a long day, but in fact it was only a week before this day arrived. It's coming, come and see. Beijing shouted. Chen Yakin and Ren Rongrong jumped up. They ran behind Beijing and took a look. They immediately sat back in their seats and stared at the computer in front of them. They saw that the thread began to work freely. Landing. On April 2nd, the Tokyo Stock Exchange Nikkei stock average fell sharply, falling below the psychological defense line of 16,000 points. At the same time, the yen in the foreign exchange market also fell against the US dollar, falling to 135.20 yen per US dollar, which was the lowest point since September 1991. Many parties finally surrendered, and Ren Rongrong and Chen Yakin heard the sound of money flowing in. That line, after a cliff-like decline, began to trade sideways. The 5 people in the office sat blankly. Then, someone started crying, and then everyone else started crying too. Is it even? Ren Rongrong asked Chen Yakin with tears in her eyes. Chen Yakin shook her head. She felt that the breakthrough had just been opened and it was not over yet. You are really vicious, Ren Rongrong smiled. Same for you, Chen Yakin said. Since they have not yet closed their positions, what they need next is to adjust their strategies and readjust their take profit and stop loss lines. The purpose of the adjustment is to ensure the profits they have already earned. How about setting the stop loss to 130, Ren Rongrong asked. 128, Chen Yakin said. What about stop profit, Ren Rongrong asked. Chen Yakin thought for a moment and said, 140. Are you crazy, Ren Rongrong asked. Chen Yakin nodded and said, yes. Then I'm crazier than you, Ren Rongrong said. I think the yen will fall to the level of 1990, and the profit limit will be 145. Chen Yakin stared at the disk on the computer, clicked with the mouse, and looked back at the annual trend chart of the yen. Finally, she nodded and said, okay, then stop loss at 128 and take profit at 145. Chen Yakin told Beijing these two numbers, and Beijing checked them again. She thought 128 made sense, 145. Are you sure? Beijing asked. Chen Yakin nodded, okay. Is this your unanimous opinion? Beijing asked again. Chen Yakin looked at Ren Rongrong, and Ren Rongrong said yes, we all agreed. Okay, Beijing gave this instruction to Mali, and Mali asked, 128, 145, right? Beijing is right. After Mali set it up, she said to Beijing, okay. Beijing walked behind Mali, looked at her computer, and patted her on the shoulder. Chen Yakin stood up, walked to the window and looked outside for a while, then turned around and said to Ren Rong, I feel like I can't stay in this office any longer. Rong, let's go traveling. Where to go? Ren Rong asked. Anywhere, whether I go to Shanghai, Suzhou, Beijing, or even Hainan. I don't want to watch TV, read newspapers, or see anything related to trading and financial markets, Chen Yakin said. Beijing, Mali, and Su Aijuan looked at Chen Yakin smiling, but Ren Rong did not laugh. She felt that she understood Chen Yakin very well, and she didn't feel the same as Chen Yakin in her heart. When are you leaving? Ren Rong asked. Leave immediately, Chen Yakin said. Okay, Ren Rong turned around and said to Mali, Beijing, and Su Aijuan, the three of you, take turns watching the market, whether it is stop loss or stop profit. Even if the King of Heaven comes and asks you to move, you are not allowed to move. Do you understand? The three people looked at her with smiles, and Ren Rong suddenly shouted, do you understand? The three people quickly said, I understand. Unless the stop loss or stop profit is hit, you are not allowed to call us, no matter what, even if the building falls down. Do you understand? Ren Rong asked. The three people nodded. If Mr. Ni comes to ask, just say that we are going on a trip and ask him not to call any of us. As long as he makes a call, we will not come back, Chen Yakin said, just say it was me. Mali asked timidly, then if Mr. Ni asks about the account, don't tell him a word, and don't show him the board. Even if he has 10,000 questions, let him wait for us to come back and ask us, Ren Rong said, you said you don't know anything, do you understand? The three people continued to nod, saying they understood. Once the stop profit or stop loss is touched, call us as soon as possible, Chen Yakin said. Okay, the three people nodded quickly. Let's go, Ren Rong said. The two of them put on their own backpacks and brought nothing else with them. They walked out as if they were going shopping, went downstairs to Jiangguo Road, took a taxi, got in, and asked Ren Rong tell the driver to go to the train station. We're exhausted, let's go to the airport. When we get to the airport, we'll go wherever the nearest plane goes, Chen Yakin said. Ren Rong nodded and said, okay. They arrived at the airport. The nearest flight was to Xi'an. 40 minutes later, they looked down from the plane's porthole. Hangzhou was getting further and further away from them and becoming increasingly blurry. Thank you, book friend 1297873838407110656. Thank you, Tin Soldier Doll, and thank you for the reward of reading books every day. Thank you, Lily, for your monthly ticket for me and book friend 20180720125920875. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all good health. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei-Shi Niang. Chapter 1008. Ren Rong and Chen Yakin stayed in Xi'an for more than a week. They went to various scenic spots every day and looked for delicious food. They both deliberately did not talk about things related to the transaction, although they wanted to talk about it. Call back and ask about the situation. One advantage of two people being together is that they can compete with each other. If you don't hit me, I won't hit you either. Whoever hits me is the puppy. They didn't call back, and Molly and the others didn't call either. What made them feel a little relieved was that while there was no good news, at least there was no bad news, which meant that the yen was always between 128 and 145. Even Lao Ni didn't call Chen Yakin. Chen Yakin knew that this was mainly because of having an assistant. Also, Lao Ni really didn't dare to offend them. They said they wouldn't go back, so they didn't have to go back and traveled while traveling. The boss was fired at the same time. The advantage of doing business is that it can be done anywhere, and with their current performance, it is easy to find funds and sponsors. Even David is asking them if they are interested in working in Hong Kong. There are 2 bosses in Hong Kong. I really hope they can join their company. They were now the golden roosters that laid golden eggs for Lau Ni. How could Lau Ni give up on them? Besides, he knew in his heart that all the work they should do had been done, and all that was left was to wait for the opportunity to come. Trading is not something you can achieve by sitting in an office every day and staring at the market every day. Otherwise, you may suffer serious losses. Lau Ni also bought a few books and read them, and learned a little bit about them. He knew about those low-level traders. Only traders with poor concentration will trade frequently. Such people are like stupid people who entered the casino, winning in the short term and losing in the long term. In the financial market, those who can really make money are those who do long-term trading and long-term trading. For some people, the money in their accounts continues to increase for several years or even decades, and in the process, he has almost never closed any positions or done anything, but as the numbers in his account continue to increase, he has become an investment master. If you are willing to play, then go ahead and play, as long as my money is increasing, Lau Ni thought to himself. Of course, they don't really want to leave Lau Ni. This is also the psychology of people who do business. In their view, money is money. Money has no name and no country. Although the money in the account, when it goes in, at that time, it was Hong Kong dollars, but didn't these Hong Kong dollars immediately turn into Korean won, Japanese yen, and US dollars? They don't care at all whether the money belongs to Lau Ni, Lau Wang, and Lau Li, or the Hong Kong people, but what they care about is whether they are in harmony with the financial owner. Lau Ni, at least so far, has satisfied them that he can let go. Just let them go, it's easy. And every time they fight hard and work hard, Lau Ni will give them the rewards they deserve without hesitation, allowing them to live like this every day, stay in the best hotels, find the best food to eat, and don't have to worry at all. Money is tight. Chen Yakin also collected all the invoices. She said that when it reaches 145, she will go to Lau Ni to reimburse her. Yes, it has reached 145, will Lau Ni still refuse to reimburse? 145. What is the concept? Their original book capital of 500 million will become more than 1 billion. What do their expenses count? If you had a Hong Kong boss, you would have to keep an eye on your accounts every day, and have to communicate and hold meetings with them from time to time. Damn it, that would be really annoying. Let them go to Hong Kong, work 9 to 5, and have to go in and out of office buildings in suits every day. It's really better to be like now, wearing pajamas every day and making a floor in splendid Jiangnan. Therefore, David's words did not make any waves in their hearts at all. The only effect was to make them feel emboldened. Even if they stood in front of Lau Ni, if they were angry in their hearts, they would dare to be arrogant to him. Understand, I don't rely on you for food. As for Lau Ni, she has to endure it even if she can't bear it. Of course, this is just thinking about it, they are not the kind of people who don't know the depth. They went to Chengdu from Xi'an and stayed in Chengdu for a few days. The two of them chatted while eating and found that neither of them had been to Shenzhen. After so many years of reform and opening up, how could they not have been to Shenzhen? Go, their second. I went to Shenzhen that day. When I arrived in Shenzhen, I realized that it was really a boring city. After staying there for 2 days, I went to Kunming again. Kunming is such a fun and delicious place. They stayed there for more than 10 days, and then went to Shanghai and Suzhou. These 2 places were the places they planned to go when they left the office. Unexpectedly, it took more than a month before they arrived here. They stayed in Suzhou. People said that there is heaven above and Suzhou and Hangzhou below, but they felt that it was really boring. The gardens here are similar to those in Hangzhou or even Jiangnan. The problem is that Suzhou food is really unpalatable. The clear soup is watery. After eating it for 2 days, I feel that my mouth and body are almost exhausted. Walk quickly, go Chengdu, you need to have a hot pot to enjoy yourself. But they didn't go to Chengdu. It wouldn't be interesting to go to the cities they had visited again. They went to Chongqing, stayed in Chongqing for a week, and then flew to Qingdao to eat seafood. They seemed to have completely forgotten the transaction, as if they had forgotten all about Hangzhou. Their phones would still ring every day, but none of them were from Lao Ni or Ma Li, they were all their family members and friends. Called. These calls, knowing that they have moved to another city, the first reaction is, why are you working so hard, running outside all day long, it has been almost 2 months, and you haven't come back yet? They could only say happily, no, the work is not finished yet. They think they have forgotten the transaction, but in fact they have not. The transaction will not forget them. They often dream about the transaction, and most of these dreams are nightmares. They dream that they have not set a stop loss, and they dream that they are killed by the Japanese. Short positions are completely wiped out. They are often awakened from their dreams by such dreams. Moreover, the longer they left Hangzhou, the more frequent such nightmares became, making them a little afraid of sleeping. The two of them drank in hotel rooms, went to nightclubs, and went for late-night snacks. They did it every day. They arrived very late, exhausted themselves, fell asleep on the bed, but no matter how tired they were, nightmares would still come as scheduled and wake them up. Chen Yakin opened her eyes wide in the darkness and stared blankly at the ceiling above her head. Her body was already soaked with cold sweat. For a moment, she kept trembling and had to pinch her thigh to wake herself up. When she came over, nothing happened. It was just a dream. But after realizing that it was a dream, she felt inexplicable fear. Will the yen always be between 128 and 145 in this life, and I will never be able to go back to Hangzhou again? Destined to fly non-stop from one city to another? Will you be tired? Chen Yakin felt very tired. Although no one has ever restricted them from returning to Hangzhou, after being outside for a long time, they feel like they have been cursed. As long as the line on the market does not hit the stop loss or stop profit, they will not even mention it to go back. No courage. Chen Yakin got out of bed and walked to the bathroom. She wanted to take a shower and open the door, but was startled when she saw Ren Rongrong sitting in the dry bathtub and smoking. The bathroom was filled with smoke. Death, Chen Yakin cursed and quickly turned on the ventilation fan. Ren Rongrong smiled and gave way to the side. Chen Yakin also sat in the bathtub. The bathtub was big enough and the two of them were thin enough to sit side by side. Chen Yakin took the cigarette from Ren Rongrong's hand and smoked. Got up. Ren Rongrong fell over and fell into Chen Yakin's arms, and suddenly started sobbing. She said, "Yakin, coax me and let me sleep for a while. I haven't fallen asleep for more than a week. I will die." Chen Yakin held a cigarette in her right hand and patted Ren Rongrong's back with her left hand, coaxing her. Ren Rongrong fell asleep in her arms after a while. They left Hangzhou and had been wandering outside for more than 2 months. On June 15, at around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, they were at the capital airport, preparing to go from Beijing to Wuhan. Both of them had passed the security check. Sitting in the waiting room, Chen Yakin's phone rang. She answered it, and a long-lost voice came out of the phone. "Sister Yakin, where are you? We touched each other, 145. Chen Yakin and Ren Rongrong looked at each other. Ren Rongrong nodded to prove that she heard correctly. Chen Yakin quickly shouted. "Molly, what did you say? Say it again quickly." "Touched, 145, touched, 145. Chen Yakin and Ren Rongrong shouted oh. Chen Yakin waved his hand, and the big brother in his hand flew out. The two jumped up from their seats, hugged each other, and laughed loudly. People around looked at them curiously. These two women looked like two madmen. A middle-aged man came over holding Chen Yakin's eldest brother with two fingers, stood in front of them, and asked angrily, "Did you throw it?" It was almost hit. Chen Yakin woke up and quickly bowed to him, saying repeatedly, I'm sorry, brother, I'm so sorry." Facing such a beautiful woman, what can you do? The man threw the elder brother into Chen Yakin's arms, and Chen Yakin quickly caught it with her hands. Still saying sorry, the man turned around and left. The two picked up their luggage and left. Needless to say, their common thought was to return to Hangzhou immediately. There were no flights to Hangzhou anymore. They bought a flight to Shanghai and decided to take a taxi directly back to Hangzhou when they arrived at Hongqiao Airport. No matter how late it was, they would definitely return to Hangzhou today. After passing the security check again and sitting down in the waiting room, Chen Yakin took out her mobile phone. Only then did she realize that the mobile phone had been broken and the screen was completely black. Ren Rongrong used her mobile phone to call back to the office. When Beijing answered the phone, Ren Rongrong asked, "What's the lowest point?" 146.43 Beijing said, and Molly came over and shouted, "Sister Rongrong, if Beijing and Ijuan hadn't held me back, I would have closed the position at 144.6. "How dare you," Ren Rongrong scolded, while Molly giggled. After hanging up the phone, Ren Rongrong and Chen Yakin both felt that it was a very close call. 146.43 was just a little bit behind. On June 15, Japan's Economic Planning Agency announced that Japan's economic growth in the last fiscal year ended at the end of March this year was minus 0.7%. This was Japan's first negative economic growth in 23 years. For this reason, Japan announced that Japan has entered an economic recession cycle. In the foreign exchange market, the Japanese yen plummeted to 146.43 per US dollar, the lowest point in more than 7 years. Affected by the plummeting Japanese yen, the Nikkei index once fell below the 15,000 mark, reaching as low as 14,700 points. Ren Rongrong and Chen Yakin felt that it was very dangerous, but what made them even more afraid was yet to come. After they returned to Hangzhou, the next day, on June 17, Japan and the United States jointly invested $6 billion, sold US dollars in the London and New York foreign exchange markets, purchased large amounts of Japanese yen, and intervened in the Japanese yen exchange rate. Within a day, the yen against the US dollar climbed sharply to 136 yen per US dollar, and then entered an upward channel. Intervene, Ren Rongrong and Chen Yakin said with a smile, "We have made a successful escape," and Lao Ni's mouth was almost crooked in laughter. "Thank you for the tip from the third one from top to bottom, 131 on the shore. Thank you Yuj, Murin and Yuju for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all a happy life. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Niang. Chapter 1009. After the Hepan Oil Painting Museum's paints from the Riverside Oil Painting Museum Collection, 1, came out, Yao Fen and Zhao Xian mailed a copy to each painter whose works were collected by their oil painting museum. As a result, there were calls immediately from the painters. I, as well as the publishing house, all inquired about the printing of this album. Yao Fen and Zhao Xian told them Xiao An's phone number. Or simply let Xiao An answer the phone. Now, Xiao An always spends half a day in their art museum. He is already like a connoisseur and speaks eloquently. including the famous Beijing Renmei and Sanlian bookstores. They also called, saying that the painter who had received the album recommended it to them. Sanlian bookstore told them that they were preparing a 5-volume collection of Mr. Wu Guanzong's paintings. They originally wanted to send them to Hong Kong for printing. Mr. Wu himself recommended them to them and said that there was a printing house in Hangzhou that printed a painting album. The quality was very good, and I gave them the phone number of the Riverside Oil Painting Gallery, so they called. Yao Fen introduced them to the equipment of Chu Tianlin's company, and also told them that Zhejiang Renmei has established a long-term cooperative relationship with this company, and has several picture albums, all of which are currently printed in the factory. After listening to Yao Fen's introduction, these publishing houses immediately sent people to Hangzhou. Xiaoan drove a bullet to pick them up at the airport, and then took them to Gongchen Bridge for an on-site visit. After that, they immediately signed a contract with Chu Tianlin and others. Entered into a cooperation agreement. Compared with the work of other units, the advantage of the work of a publishing house is that the publishing house publishes books. There is a plan to choose the topic before the year, and the responsibility is assigned to each person, and then it is promoted step by step, and there is plenty of time. Unlike those units that suddenly have a demand and then urgently need to do the work of a publishing house, Chu Tianlin and others can also follow the steps and arrange their time reasonably, and they can basically predict that a publishing house will be able to complete the work in a year. How many orders are there? The Heidelberg Speedmaster QM74 Quad is still on its way, but Chu Tianlin and the others have been basically fully booked for the printing business of the 3 printing machines this year. Zhang Chen and Lu Ligan knew about it and told Chu Tianlin that they still needed it. Add equipment. I won't dare to do it again, and I won't do it again this year. Chu Tianlin quickly waved her hands and told them that she was not worried about anything else, but that she was worried that the factory would suddenly become too big and there would be too many new workers in the factory, and the factory management would not be able to keep up. After all, Chu Tianjian was originally an engineer, not a student of management. And I have always been engaged in business, and I can't get involved in factory production management. Let's lay a solid foundation first with the existing equipment. Now, their annual printing volume is already amazing. If the quality of products declines because the factory management cannot keep up, then no matter how much good equipment we have, it will be in vain. In the end, the gains will outweigh the losses. Chu Tianlin and Zhang Chen said that Zhang Chen and the others also felt that what Chu Tianlin said was very reasonable. Zhang Chen knew that there was no small matter in the management of the factory. If you are not careful, small things will lead to big disasters, and people are indeed the most difficult thing to manage. Was that Chu Tianlin was right to be cautious. After the great success of Han Dynasty Emperor Liu Bang's Black Forest cake shop, Lin Shuwen also came to Hangzhou at his instigation. She came to Hangzhou not to open a clothing store. I hired a manager to take care of the clothing store in Taipei, and I wanted to work in Hangzhou. Brother, do you like it? Lin Shuwen asked Zhang Chen, and Zhang Chen said of course he was welcome. Han Emperor Liu Bang and Zhang Chen Xiaozhao said that the reason why Shuwen wanted to leave Taipei was actually because of her difficulties. She was embarrassed to say that in Taipei, a congressman always came to harass her and wanted to take advantage of her, which offended her. Get up, just stay away. Xiaozhao and Zhang Chen understood. After hearing what Brother Liu said, Xiaozhao wanted to help Miss Lin. Although she felt that some of her hairs stood on end when she heard Lin Shuwen using her tepu to call Brother Zhang Chen. But she felt that Miss Lin was still a good person. Lin Shuwen planned to open a wedding photography shop in Hangzhou. At that time, when men and women in mainland China were preparing to get married, they would go to a photo studio to take a wedding photo. They would take wedding photos wherever they wanted, and they would also specialize in a large photo album. But at that time, this is what Taiwan does. Lin Shuwen came to the mainland several times and found that there was no such thing. Liu Bang, the emperor of the Han dynasty, supported her idea very much and believed that wedding photography would have a huge market in mainland China in the future. Lu Ligan helped Lin Shuwen to discuss with Tianxiang Building. On the third floor of the comprehensive office building at the junction of Fengqi Road and Yan'an Road that they had rented from him, there was an area of more than 15,000 square meters. The facade, and more than 600 square meters on the first and second floors, were sublet to Lin Shuwen. Zhang Chen helped her design the decoration of the store, and Liu Bang, the emperor of the Han dynasty, asked Lao Tan. Lao Tan did his part and personally supervised the workers to hurry up with the construction. In this way, Lin Shuwen's love story wedding photo studio soon opened on Fengqi Road, and the business was very good. Liu Bang and Zhang Chen, the founders of the Han dynasty, encouraged her to strike while the iron was hot and develop quickly. Lin Shuwen soon opened love story wedding photo studios in Shanghai and Beijing. In other cities, she accepted Zhang Chen's suggestion and also adopted the form of franchising. In this way, her love story wedding photo studio soon spread across the country, and Lin Shuwen became the pioneer of wedding photography in mainland China. Queen of Wedding Photography, this is the title given to her by a fashion magazine. This is something. The difficult days are advancing day by day. The only thing that makes Tan Shahan feel relieved is that MSCAI of Taiwan Fubon Financial Holdings seems to have recovered from this crisis. She brought Mr. Chiao from Shenzhen Angzhen Trust to Hangzhou. MSCAI, Lu Ligan, and Tan Shahan said that although Fubon Financial Holdings suffered huge losses in Southeast Asia this time, fortunately, their businesses in Taiwan and mainland China Taiwanese business customers will not be greatly affected, and this will allow them to get out of their predicament. The purpose of bringing Mr. Chiao here this time was not only to take a look at the Meisi River project. Ever since the last time she decided to invest in the Meisi River project, Liu Bang, the great ancestor of the Han dynasty, had been managing this place. She had never been here again. Even when the improvement of Meisi River was completed, she had only seen it from the photos brought back to Taiwan by Liu Bang, the emperor of Han dynasty. She had actually wanted to do it for a long time, but she did not expect to encounter a financial crisis. MSCAI came here this time to see Lu Ligan's other projects, such as Hangcheng Center and Splendid West Lake. MSCAI agreed with Mr. Chiao and the others to follow up and continue to make mortgages. As for the Meisi River project, now the mortgage amount can be unlimited. This made Lu Ligan and Tan Shahan heave a sigh of relief. Although the sales did not see a big improvement, it finally gave them no worries. They felt that as long as there were real estate companies surviving in Hangzhou, they would always have one more person than others. For the magic weapon of mortgage loans, sales are at least no worse than those of other companies. Miss CAI's visit this time was also due to the invitation of Han Emperor Liu Bang and Lin Shuwen. They were old acquaintances. Now, their business in mainland China is booming. Miss CAI is here to follow up on their business, providing them with the funds they need for rapid development. Liu Bang and Lin Shuwen, the founders of the Han dynasty, now need to travel between Taiwan and mainland China. When they get to the mainland, they have to travel to various cities. However, they feel that their roots are in Hangzhou. When they go to other cities, they always feel like they are on a business trip and have finished their work. I was in a hurry to go home, and this home was in Hangzhou. Liu Bang and Lin Shuwen, the founders of the Han dynasty, bought existing houses in Peach Blossom Spring, so they moved in earlier than Zhang Chen, Chu Tianlin, and Wei Venfang. Zhang Chen's villa has not yet been delivered, but Chu Tianlin and Wei Venfang have already delivered it, but they think the Peach Blossom Spring is too far away and there are too many things in the company, so Wei Venfang and Wu Zhaowei still live in the company in Gongchen Kiao. Chu Tianlin still lives in an old house in the city. On weekends, when they all get together again, they don't go to the hotel, but to the villa of Liu Bang or Lin Shuwen, the founder of the Han dynasty. Usually one of them will be at home. When eating, everyone will show off their dishes. If you have the ability to do it yourself, If you don't want to do it or it's not enough, Lu Ligan will ask the restaurant of their hotel to send it to you. Every time, Wang Minsheng would put the icing on the cake and let them try the newly developed pastries, listen to their opinions, and start production after improvements. Lu Bang, the founder of the Han Dynasty, established a factory in the Xiaosha development zone in Hangzhou as a distribution center to produce various raw materials and semi-finished products for distribution to their stores across the country. They also developed in many secondary cities under each province and city. After opening the Black Forest franchise stores, the materials for these franchise stores are uniformly distributed by them, so as to ensure the quality of the food. Zhang Chen's factory in Sanbeo has become busy again. This year's sales have increased slightly compared to last year. The reason for the busy production is because the workers who continue to produce their original products have been reduced to 2/3 of all parking spaces, and 1/3 of the remaining parking spaces are occupied. A parking space, now it is cooperating with Lin Shuwen to produce wedding dresses. Lin Shuwen's wedding photo studios across the country also sell wedding dresses. Unexpectedly, this is a field without competitors and the demand is huge. What girl wears a wedding dress and takes a beautiful photo album, but doesn't want to wear a wedding dress again? Attending a wedding and don't want to keep your wedding dress as a souvenir? After they started producing wedding dresses, Ji Ling seemed to be a different person. For her, wedding dress design was something she had been doing since junior high school. She dug out the paintings she had drawn before, and Lin Shuwen looked at them. Still applauded. Lin Shuwen looked at Ji Ling, her eyes widened, and said with almost disbelief, "Msge, do you know that you are a genius in designing wedding dresses?" Zhang Chen also thought so. Lin Shuwen thought for a moment and said, "No, Miss Ge, I must sell your wedding dress to Taiwan. Do you agree? We must make the brides there become beautiful. Yes, they will definitely like it." While Lin Shuwen continued to buy Zhang Chen's clothes, she really started buying wedding dresses. She was an agent for wedding dresses in Taiwan. Ji Ling's wedding dress was very popular, and Xiao Zhao was surprised. She asked Zhang Chen, Ji Ling had never even been married, how could she still have such talent? Zhang Chen remembered the painting by Ji Ling that he Hung Mei brought to him at the earliest time. Zhang Chen smiled and said, "Hers is not a talent, but a dream. She is just describing her dream. She is selling her dream to the world." Xiao Zhao seemed to understand, but he understood the meaning. It was Ji Ling who was indeed very powerful in this regard. Difficult days are coming day by day. Tan Shahen sometimes feels a little depressed, even a little bitter. She doesn't know when such days will end. But what she didn't know was that exports had dropped severely and domestic demand could not be boosted. The top management was more worried than she was. They were also looking for a sudden opening to boost domestic demand, and found it. When the top began to make plans and take action, the kind of vibration and impact was earth-shaking. Lu Ligan, Tan Shahen, Meng Ping, and Qian Fang's good days were about to come. The next time was their carnival time. The situation changed so quickly and their wealth suddenly increased so much that they themselves were stunned. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Xiniang. Chapter 1010. As soon as Tan Shahen arrived at the office, the phone on the desk rang. It was President Wang from ICBC. President Wang told Tan Shahen on the phone that she should wait for him in the office. He would come over immediately and then hung up the phone. After putting down the phone, Tan Shahen was startled for a moment. She thought the call from President Wang was a bit strange. Tan Shahen walked to Lu Ligan's office and told Lu Ligan the phone number of President Wang. Lu Ligan also felt strange. This bank was doing it for no reason. What could happen to them? Is there a problem with our loan? Lu Ligan asked. What problems will there be with the loan? Tan Shahen shook her head. Our loan interest is paid in advance every month, and the flow of funds is completely in line with the purpose of the loan. What problems will there be? Besides, if we want to talk about a loan, then President Wang would also ask us to go to the bank instead of him coming to our place. Lu Ligan nodded, feeling that what Tan Shahan said made sense. The two of them thought about it for a long time, but they couldn't figure out what would happen if President Wang came over. President Wang arrived very quickly. Only 10 minutes later, Tan Shahan and Lu Ligan heard President Wang's voice coming from downstairs. They hurried out and saw President Wang and 3 other people walking down the stairs. Coming up, Tan Shahan's heart skipped a beat and she finished shouting secretly. She saw 2 vice presidents coming with President Wang. With the 3 presidents coming together, something big must have happened. Tan Shahan's first thought was to collect the loan in advance. When President Wang saw them, he chuckled, "Xiao Tan, your place is pretty good. I've passed by it several times but never came in. Today is my first time here." Seeing President Wang's smiling face, Tan Shahan was slightly relieved. She quickly said welcome, and Lu Ligan had already gone up to greet them and shake hands with them. After letting them into the conference room, President Wang saw a rendering of the splendid West Lake posted on the wall. He stopped in front of the rendering and asked, "Mr. Lu, Xiao Tan, where is your project? Why don't I know?" Lu Ligan and President Wang discussed the direction of this project. Tan Shahan said, "This is a project we acquired at the end of last year. When we compiled the loan information last year, this project did not exist yet, so the president may not have seen it." "Oh, has this project started now?" Vice President Ma asked. "It's already started," Tan Shahan said. "Now the basement is up and we're preparing to open it around October this year." "Splendid West Lake? That place is 2 streets away from the West Lake." "Mr. Lu, is your splendid West Lake a gimmick?" asked President Wang. Lu Ligan smiled and said, "President, this is really not the case. As you know, in order not to damage the scenery of the West Lake, the height of the houses around the West Lake is limited. We are in the front row where high-rise buildings are allowed to be built, so, from the 10th floor to the 32nd floor of our house, you can have an unobstructed view of the West Lake." President Wang nodded. He looked at the other 2 vice presidents. They both smiled and nodded. Tan Shahan asked them to sit down. President Wang waved his hand and said to them, "No need to sit down, everyone is very busy. Mr. Lu, Xiao Tan, let's make a long story short. Has the opening price of your house been released?" "It's out, the first issue is 4,030, Tan Shahan said. "How many households are there on one floor?" Vice President Ma asked. "There are 3 elevators and 4 rooms. Because it is a room with a view, there are 2 indoor elevators and 1 sightseeing elevator," Tan Shahan answered. "What about the area of each household?" 138 to 158. "Not bad." President Wang nodded. He pointed to the renderings and asked the 2 vice presidents, "How about changing it here?" Both vice presidents agreed. President Wang turned around and said to Lu Ligan and Tan Shahan, "When we came here today, we originally wanted to buy your house in Mishai. When we saw this place, we bought this one. Can you go through the formalities immediately?" Tan Shahan said with some embarrassment, "The project has not reached ±0. According to our company's regulations, it cannot be opened until it reaches ±0. President Wang waved his hand, "I don't care about your company's regulations. I'm just asking you, can you go through the formalities immediately?" Tan Shahan said, "This is okay." "Okay, Xiao Tan, help us choose the best building. One with a view of the West Lake from the 10th floor up, right?" Tan Shahan nodded. "Give us all the 12th floor and above of this building. President Ma will come to handle the formalities in the afternoon, and he will pay you the entire house payment in the afternoon," President Wang said. Lu Ligan and Tan Shahan were stunned for a moment. Before they could wake up, President Wang's hand had already been stretched out to shake hands with them and say goodbye. When Vice President Ma shook hands with Tan Shahan, he also specially warned them. Xiao Tan, I'll come in the afternoon. Lu Ligan and Tan Shahan escorted the three bank presidents downstairs. As soon as they walked downstairs, they saw a black Audi 100, which stopped in front of their company. The person who got out of the car was from Sinopec Hangcheng branch. General Manager Li Chang. He got out of the car and laughed when he saw President Wang and the others. He walked over and shook hands with President Wang and the others. The two of them understood each other tacitly and didn't say much. President Wang waved to Lu Ligan and Tan Shahan, got in the car and left. This Mr. Li turned out to be the director of the Hangcheng refinery. He had dealt with Lu Ligan for a long time. Lu Ligan and Tan Shahan came over and held Lu Ligan's hand. Mr. Li asked, "Where did ICBC buy the house?" Lu Ligan asked curiously, "Mr. Li, how do you know that President Wang and others are here to buy a house?" Mr. Li smiled and said, "If you don't want to buy a house, do you still need President Wang to personally take action?" Tan Shahan joked, "Then Mr. Li personally came to buy a house?" Mr. Li nodded and said, "Yes." Lu Ligan and Tan Shahan were shocked. When they went upstairs, Mr. Li and the others did not hesitate, and directly asked for the two houses near Jafang Road in Meisi River. Although the construction site was currently parked there, Mr. Li said, "It doesn't matter. If we buy it, we can start construction." Mr. Li was even more anxious than President Wang. He sat there and asked Lu Ligan and the others to calculate the payment for the two buildings immediately. Tan Shahan had no choice but to call Ying Ying. After Ying Ying calculated the payment for the two buildings, she told Tan Shahan. Tan Shahan told Mr. Li. Mr. Li nodded to the person who came with him. That person seemed to be the finance person. He immediately took out the check, filled it out and handed it to Tan Shahan. Mr. Li asked Tan Shahan to give him a floor plan. Tan Shahan found it and gave it to him. The two parties agreed that Mr. Li and the others would hand over the list of owners of each house the day after tomorrow, and Tan Shahan and the others would immediately go and apply for the real estate certificate for them. Before Mr. Li and the others left, Director Wang from the Hangzhou Power Supply Company and the Post and Telecommunications Bureau called Lu Ligan, saying they were coming to buy a house. Tan Shahan, the CEO of the Provincial Metal Company, and the CEO of Zongda Group also call her and tell her that she wants to buy a house. After Mr. Li left, Lu Ligan and Tan Shahan looked at each other. Lu Ligan asked, "What day is today?" "July 6, Monday," Tan Shahan said. Lu Li laughed loudly, "I'm asking, why are these people buying houses like crazy?" Tan Shahan said, "You ask me and I ask who will go. Now, it's like more than half of last year, and you're still not happy." "Happy, happy," Lu Ligan said, "No, something big must have happened. I want to ask." Lu Ligan got through Sun Ho's phone and asked him, "Monkey, what happened? Why do so many wealthy companies suddenly come here to buy houses?" "You don't know," Sun Haoqi said, "I thought you wouldn't be so closed-minded about the news, so I didn't tell you. It's not just your place, it's the same for the whole country. It's even earlier here in Beijing. The rush starts on Saturday. Yes, all the houses that could be robbed have been robbed." Sun Ho talked to Lu Ligan, and then Lu Ligan understood that it turned out that the General Office of the State Council issued QAVA 1998 number 23 on July 3, that is, last Friday, the State Council's notice on further deepening notice on reforming the urban housing system and accelerating housing construction. Although the document was only distributed to the people's governments of provinces, autonomous regions and municipalities directly under the central government, all ministries and commissions of the State Council, and all agencies directly under the State Council, after fermentation on Saturday and Sunday, many units and people knew about it. Because this notice is so important and directly related to everyone's vital interests, the notice requires that physical distribution of housing will be stopped in the second half of 1998, and housing distribution will be gradually monetised. In other words, the welfare distribution that has been implemented since the founding of the People's Republic of China. The housing system has officially come to an end and has completed its historical mission. From now on, all housing must be obtained from the market. This notice was issued on July 3, and the regulations will be implemented from the date of issuance, but there is a tail in it, which is the gradual implementation. The notice said, the specific time and steps will be determined by each province, autonomous region, and municipality directly under the central government. The people's government shall determine it based on local actual conditions. In other words, before this notice is issued and specific measures are introduced in various places, there will actually be a window period. Those wealthy units that were originally building dormitories and housing every year will not be able to build more. It was too late, and the best way was of course to buy it, so Sun Ho said that all the houses that could be grabbed were taken away. Because no one knows when the specific measures of their local province or city will come out. It may be today, it may be tomorrow, or it may be the day after tomorrow, but it will definitely not be long, so they have to take action before that. The house payment is paid out first and becomes a fact. The notice also specifically emphasized, adhere to the new system for new houses and the old methods for old houses, live smoothly, and provide comprehensive supporting facilities. In other words, during the period before the regulations in various places are issued, as long as everyone can grab a house, you can all use the same old method and continue to divide. Sun Ho got the original text of the notice from somewhere and faxed it over. Lu Ligan looked at it and said to Tan Shahen, immediately notify Ying Ying, Lao Tan, Fan Jiangguo, and Song Chunming that all house sales are suspended. No matter where they are or what they are doing, they should immediately drop what they are doing and rush over to the company for a meeting. What do you want to do? Tan Shahen asked. Haha, the house is about to be robbed, don't we need to adjust the price? Lu Ligan shouted. Tan Shahen understood and informed her immediately. Thank you to Dal Tin Soldier and RIRI Shushu for the reward. Thank you Tianying 1978, Kandera, Book Friends 1297873838407110656, Book Friends 201901042017583118 for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all good health.